thinkers on foreign policy. Someone who is on Twitter, on X, much more than I can ever be, in some ways responding. He's the first responder to any foreign policy issue that India faces, and I take inspiration from his tweets. May I request, sir, to now give us your valuable insights on how you see Modi 3.0.
Thank you, Amita. You have extremely eloquently introduced the subject. I thank Minister for this invitation. I am glad that we have some ambassadors present in the audience, which means that we are not talking amongst ourselves. We are also trying as far as possible to enlighten our foreign guests about what would be the new direction in India's foreign policy under Modi 3.0. As was said, it is essentially an intellectual exercise, but I think Mr. Madhu has made it more than an intellectual exercise by actually delving into the various manifestos and outlining for you what the broad thinking of the ruling party is, and that of the Congress and some other parties. So you've got something to chew on. Mind you, these manifestos do not actually mean that every word in that is going to be the script for India's foreign policy in the future. You have to say something, and you say it in the best possible way. But achieving whatever your goals may be in this world of competition and conflict and unpredictability is not easy. Now, my problem with the title of today's symposium, Modi 3.0, New Direction in India's Foreign Policy, seems to suggest that new directions are needed. I don't think so. It also implies that some initiatives were necessary but couldn't be taken. And in the third term, Prime Minister would have the opportunity to do so. My point is that Prime Minister Modi in his second term had full majority. As a single party, BJP has full majority, impressive majority. Because no alliance members or coalition members will have to be persuaded to come on board on some decisions, unlike in the case of the UPA. The first term, when the Communist Party, CPIM, was a huge roadblock in terms of its foreign policy initiative. You are aware how much they opposed the nuclear deal with the United States. Also, in his second term, Modi was not hampered in any way by what you might call vote bank considerations, which in the past have played a significant role in formulating our foreign policy. The Congress still is attached, at least in terms of declarations, to India's Northern past. Modi in his second term did not need to mount India's continued attachment to online. In other words, as a kind of public relations exercise that we are still unwilling to join any blocs. We have an independent foreign policy. The litmus test of that is somehow references to India's non-aligned past. In other words, Prime Minister Modi had full freedom to pursue policies of choice. So what we are actually talking about now, hopefully, is a transition from an earlier majority to another majority. The polls opinions vary whether Mr. BJP will get 703 seats or will get something in the 280s or will go beyond the 303. It's a matter of speculation. There is no clarity on that. But the question still, in terms of an intellectual exercise, would arise. What if BJP gets even a larger majority than it got in the past? Or it got as many seats as it got before, or somewhere very close to that. Or the third alternative, that they scrape, which means 272 plus. Now, in case it's the last scenario, certainly the self-confidence of the ruling party of the Prime Minister and of the country will be affected. Modi's external image would be dented. It would appear that resistance to his policies within the country was effective, and that a mere majority would reflect some degree of dissatisfaction with aspects of its foreign policy, primarily internal. This would mean more attacks on Modi and BJP, describing the failure to obtain a convincing majority, to failure to address issues that are being raised by the opposition, unemployment, inequality, and backlash against Hinduism, and all the issues of federalism that are currently being politically disputed. Externally, in that case, lobbies, there are widespread anti-Indian lobbies within the West in particular, and they are deeply connected to internal lobbies, and they step up their attacks on Modi and BJP. They might even reason that all this campaign that we can see as a concerted campaign during election period had some impact on the ground, and this may embolden them to continue down the path to limit their choices of the Prime Minister in the third term. Now, this is the reality that we are living with even during Modi's second term. Right, in fact, right from 2014, when he got into power, there have been constant attacks on Hinduism, on minorities, on capture of institutions, backlighting of democracy, and what have you. And all the institutions, Western institutions, which are handled for the West to put pressure on other countries, have been used. So this will continue, we are used to it. It hasn't affected, in reality, either India's economic growth, its rise, India, Modi's international personality, the equation we have established with major powers coming out, mentioned how relationship with the United States has never been as close in the past as today. And really speaking, the United States is at the center of, when I say United States, I don't mean the government. I mean the United States system is at the center of what is can characterize a systematic campaign to undermine as much as possible. Therefore, at the state-to-state level, government-to-government level, even if Prime Minister Modi gets a bare majority, I don't think there will be much impact on the ground. The reality is that in the history of democratic countries, only 6 leaders have obtained third term. So it is nothing unusual for a leader in the third term to get a reduced majority. The fact that he get a third term in an open election, free and fair, is itself a massive achievement, especially in a country like India, where there is so much opposition, there are so many political parties, so many opinions, that despite that, a Prime Minister is able to get now, if he gets a good majority, exceeds 303, then the victory would be seen as an endorsement of his policy on all fronts. And that will be an accretion to India's self-confidence in terms of the leadership and the country. Now, when Modi says that the last 10 years was just a trailer and implied that the real film following the third term, my own view is that it has little to do with foreign policy. It's primarily related to the economy. In terms of reforms, growth, and he's been saying that he wants in the third term to make India the third largest economy in the world. He will promote even more vigorously manufacturing India's needs to develop its manufacturing sector. We will focus on that. The digitalization initiatives that he has taken will be even further. So in other words, the focus will be internal, the focus will be economic, the focus will be building India's internal strength, which inevitably would mean a freer hand, let me not say freer hand, mean a stronger hand in terms of pursuing the foreign policy that he has been pursuing earlier. And the others, the interlocutors, will absorb this new, growing, developing, stronger India. And what we see today, that countries are veering towards making India a destination for their investment and everything else. This process. Our neighbors, mentioned that we have in our manifesto not much clarity on this neighborhood first policy. But the neighbors will also have to factor in stronger the 3.0 dispensation. The fact that this will strengthen its leadership, India will become economically even stronger, and then they'll have to make sane choices, enlightened choices, whether they want to follow the current policies of some sort of pinpricking India, more than pinpricking India, and trying to balance India, bringing in external countries, especially China, and generally not averse to creating serious misunderstandings between India and our neighbors on vital security issues. Whether they feel it will be the right thing to do with stronger Modi, stronger India in the next 5 years, is a choice they have to make. All big countries have huge problems with neighbors, nothing new. China, Russia, the United States. They all have historically and today problems with neighbors. And neighbors will always try and balance big powers in the neighborhood, their rooms, their hearts, bring in external factors. And China is an obvious candidate, which is present now everywhere in the world, it's very strongly present in our region, and it's a good card to play. It is for them to see how far they should go in playing that card, and at what point India's red lines may be crossed, and India may be obliged to react reluctantly, but obliged to react. When we talk about neighborhood first policy, frankly speaking, if the neighbors don't have a neighborhood first policy, then you can't have a unilateral neighborhood first policy. That's the United States will continue to expand. Remind you, there will be more pushback on some of these issues on which the United States have the tendency to lecture us and talk a moral high ground. Already you can see there is a pushback of Prime Minister he attempted, and I think the line that has been taken would get reinforced. It's all about double standards and not holding the mirror to oneself to see one's own work, one's own efficiency, even democratic efficiencies, and the gap between so-called values and the practice on the ground is so glaring. And what's happening in the other is a testimonial to that in a very dramatic way. So I think India might begin to push back on this. But if the United States feel that they can develop a very strong tie to the national security advisors talking to each other, and Modi being given excellent reception there, and at the same time needle us on those issues, India can do the same thing, maintain our government-to-government, state-to-state relations, expand them, maintain them in good shape, but we also have the liberty to push back and point out to the United States they are exceeding the limits of what is required. I think Modi 3.0's success would make the United States see India an increasing factor of stability in an increasingly unstable and therefore more value as a partner in itself, and of course in terms of geopolitics, which essentially means China. The shifting of supply chains to India, which has been slow, should gather pace. Of course, at the end of this, all this, we can't at the moment visualize how unpredictable a Trump presidency may be and what adjustments may have to be made and what repercussions there may be. The choice is that yes, relations with Russia will continue to grow. I think there will be a summit meeting. The last one will be 2021. There will be a summit meeting this year whether Modi goes to Russia, Putin comes to India. We will see what should happen. And this is already indicated when our foreign minister went to Russia. Russia has begun to value India as a partner much more than in the past. Earlier on, there was a degree of an attitude of recognizing India because India needed Russia. Now there is a much greater sense of equality and recognition that India is a different India today. And we need to manage and develop new operations to the country. And I can already see that on the ground. It's not a temporary phenomenon because of the oil trade or bilateral trade that these 50 billion. I think there is our genuine desire from the Russian side on the Indian side to make this more durable, to invest more in Russia, especially in the Far East, and make this the Vladivostok, Chennai corridor a reality, and also push for the international North-South. And for us, frankly, even as we develop very strong ties in the United States and Europe and others, multipolarity for us remains important because it's only through multipolarity that India can play a stronger international role. And this multipolarity cannot be advanced without the support of countries like Russia or BRICS, SCO or what have you, which means that we have to maintain a strong foot in those camps, which actually is good for the West and for the United States, because this will prevent multipolarity becoming purely an anti-American or an anti-West issue. However, our view of multipolarity is a cooperative multipolarity, not a confrontational multipolarity. Now, if you want to reform the UN system, you can't do it unless there is intellectual policy acceptance of the concept of multipolarity. Therefore, Russia will continue to be very important in terms of foreign policy and for us in terms of balance. I don't see much change happening with relations with China. We will continue to be difficult because China has now made border dispute in the issue of sovereignty. And you know what China's position on sovereignty is. Their earlier member of the Central Committee said that China will not yield an inch of territory to its ancestors, which was a new foundation in terms of international law. So if they make disputes with India, a question of sovereignty, and not merely adjustment of the border, then one can see what the problem is, and they are going deeper into that by renaming locations and sites in northern Pradesh, giving them Tibetan names and Chinese names to pretend that we were always part of Tibet. They have just announced the appointment of a new ambassador after 18 months. Whether there is some homework that has been done in China and they want to gently start probing some kind of a step toward normalization, we will see. We've kept the doors open. We keep the doors open. As you can see, the Prime Minister himself has never, barring this interview we gave recently to Financial Times, where he has stopped those China. Otherwise, he never himself announced on China. And he let the Foreign Minister give the central message, not have normal time unless the situation on the border becomes normal. And that will remain the border. With Europe, I will continue to expand. Absolutely without one good hope. I think it will happen. FTA with the European Union gain momentum and will be finalized. I think Europe's own economic situation will require an opening of the Indian market to India. Yes, China, they cannot dispense with the Chinese market. They always will be drawn towards China. They want economic ties with China, but there are underlying concerns which will become even deeper when, in terms of electrical vehicles and all that, they find that the industry is being slowly destroyed from within. So they need options. And looking around, India will become under a strong 3.0 option. Therefore, I think there will be much greater potential. There will be more cooperation in terms of the Indo-Pacific with individual European countries, France in particular. But with what we call West Asia, I think the dynamism of ties will continue to be maintained. The United Arab Emirates has become the linchpin of our policy towards the Gulf. The ITU, which has been in it, and the India, Middle East, Europe economic corridor, which is also included IPA. Those initiatives might get slowed down, certainly ITU, but the other one, the Middle East, Europe economic corridor, the southern part of it, linking India to the Gulf, that will be pushed and will be realized because that is actually independent of the northern part. The northern part connectivity is to create a traditional corridor from India to Europe historically there. And that, in fact, Oman played a central role in that. But it is not critical in terms of making progress on part of the corridor. On Indian Ocean, India will continue to play a lot of it. There's a lot of emphasis the Navy has become very active. We have now deployed 23 or 26 ships to combat piracy, the problem that the Houthis have created. So what Prime Minister Modi said in his, when India had the presidency of the Security Council, and at the last meeting, President Modi himself addressed it, and he said for the first time that India is the net security provider in the Indian Ocean. This is a formulation that the Americans are using, but Modi said that, and I think what's happening today reflects that. And Modi will begin to push this. In fact, there is no credible Navy in the whole Indian Ocean. There cannot be an Indo-Pacific concept unless the Indian Navy becomes a central part of it. The United States, yes, it has a naval presence, but it doesn't have a permanent naval presence, except perhaps Diego Garcia to some extent. But it has the capacity to be a genuine Indian Ocean power because of its naval capacity. Otherwise, Japan, Australia, well, very limited naval role. So India will emphasize that naval role and therefore become more important to the global security system. In terms of, we created the fusion center here, Maritime Domain Awareness Issue, which is currently only limited to commercial shipping, but it will go into air shipping, underwater surveillance technology and all that. They are making progress in collaboration with its partners. All these are things that we push. India will continue to validate the Indo-Pacific concept. And as regards war, our language now is that war is a public good. Some years ago we were a little more reluctant, but now we are very clear what war is. It may have unstated military dimension, the cyber dimension, but it has a much larger dimension which covers technology and vaccine, HATR, and illegal fishing. And India, there is some talk about AUKUS. India has no interest in joining AUKUS. In fact, the AUKUS partner has spoiled Japan. Japan can become some kind of associate of AUKUS, but because it involves nuclear technology and other highly critical technologies, I don't think I think that Japan is ready for that. That is for India certainly, and we are not interested. We focus on the war. In this connection, Indonesia would be there is an attempt even by us to bring India into the fold of the Quad is not as a lender. There is some kind of a very associate partner, etc. But with the new Indonesian president who seems to be quite anti-US and pro-China, let's see. I've got 3 minutes left. But, Pakistan, weak government, it is continuing to play the, especially its discourse against other unfriendly. It has not given up its terrorism. It got important a little bit because the United States has reached out to it. China, of course, foster it in every way. Russia also is interested in reaching out if they can draw Pakistan after drawing it into SCO, some kind of association with the politics, and that could be Russia's aim to something, of course, which we will oppose. Some softening of Saudi Arabia's posture towards Pakistan. So this may explain why they started again becoming rather difficult. I will be surprised, and I think government has taken note in the joint communique between Iran and Pakistan. The president of Pakistan recently unpalatable reference to Kashmir. Our neighbors will continue to play for China. With Africa, there will be no change. I have to run through this. There will be 2 minutes left. With Africa, there will be no change. If India is to be a voice of the global south, core of Indian Africa, with 55 members of the African Union, they are the core of the global south and the most affected by what's happening in Ukraine and what may happen elsewhere in these conflicts on the north side. So therefore, it will be in India's interest to push for stronger ties with Africa. On Ukraine, peace conference issue we raised. India has attended some of the earlier conferences which were behind closed doors, including in Copenhagen and UAE and Warsaw, I think. But I don't think Prime Minister will go to this conference in Switzerland. I think it was very big excuse. He would have to form a government, cabinet formation, segregation, what is it, and all that. We'll keep him busy, he can make a short dash to the G7 meeting and then come away. And India can be represented at a senior political level, possibly the foreign minister. Because we can't take a position for this whole concept is flawed. That you want to have a peace conference without Russia is ridiculous. But at the same time, India has the position that there should be dialogue, there should be doors open to diplomacy and everything else. So if there is an effort, however flawed and deficient, to follow, to pursue a diplomatic route of sorts, then India can't say, no, I'm not going to be present. So I think there is justification in India's presence, but certainly no justification for Prime Minister to be there, especially at the core of it is Zelensky's 10-point peace plan, which is totally unrealistic. So I think my 3 minutes are over. I'll stop here. Thank you very much. Thank you. I must clarify this. Look at Europe. Isn't Europe heading? I can't decide whether it wants to follow the United States or China or whether we should have an independent approach to China. In fact, when he went to the G7 summit, said that we are not camp followers of the United States of America. So many other issues. There are differences. They want to maintain an independent personality. And Marco, in his speech at the Sorbonne, interview with the economists, is doing what? Basically a form of hedging, even when that helps. Now, my mind is, I'll stop here. As India becomes stronger and more easy, more clear, it's not a question of hedging. We'll have more options and we'll use those options. They can be defined as hedging by the West because they think in terms of boundaries with us.